Have you ever lost your phone while you're literally talking on it? Or opened your laptop to do one thing only to find yourself 2 hours deep into researching something completely random, like how long it would take to train a raccoon to do your laundry? Because same. And if you're running a business with ADHD, you already know this brain of ours. It's like 47 browser tabs are open, three of them are playing music, and we have no idea where the sound is coming from. And for years, I felt like I was running my business on hard mode. Every strategy, every system, every proven method, it just did not fit my brain until I stopped fighting my ADHD and figured out what worked for me. That's when everything changed. So today I'm pulling back the curtain on my ADHD fueled business, the mess, the magic, the secret behind it, and how you can stop feeling behind and start feeling in control. And stick around because at the end of the episode, I've got something brand new coming and it's going to help you do the same thing. Welcome back to the Socially Awesome Podcast. Elise Smith here. I'm your host, and I'm very excited to talk about chaos today because let's be honest, running a business with ADHD is like juggling flaming swords while riding a unicycle blindfolded. And before I dive too deep into how this actually showed up in my business, I want to give you a little bit of backstory and a realization that I had recently, like really, really recently. So let's rewind. All right. So whether this is your first time listening or you've been, listening to the podcast for a while now, you may know that I am an autism mom and I talk a lot about neurodivergency and how that showed up for my son and how that, led me into starting my business. And recently, while in discussions in a mastermind I'm in, I was working with my coach on, embodiment content. And I realized that I've shared so much about that journey and being the autism mom and all of those struggles, but I had not talked enough about my own neurodivergency and how that shows up in my life, how that showed up in my business, and really diving into that's why I've created the systems I've created. So really quick, I was not diagnosed until early adulthood. All through young age, I would finish people's sentences and I was interrupting and I was too loud and too bold and, all over the place. And I knew something was very different about the way I thought because every time I would present an idea, whether it be in school or to a friend, I was just met with this wall of like, why would you think that? Or why do you think that way? And a lot of times it was because I like to play devil's advocate. And so I really early on realized that I was perceived to be a super negative person, but it was because I liked finding the holes in systems. I liked finding what would not work before I would put it out there. Or think about like with schoolwork, if something was presented in a way like this is how you're supposed to think, and I would say, well, that's not really true. That was met with a lot of hassle in early age. But as I got into like college years, I really struggled with prioritizing. I struggled with keeping my ideas in check, which does not work well in college, by the way. And then very early on, right at 18, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which no medical claims. I will put a disclaimer out there. But, your hormones can affect, like your estrogen, things like that can affect your energy levels. And that is really when my ADHD started to show up because so much of our ADHD side effects and how we think and our energy levels are correlated with dopamine. And so there was a big connection and it really started to kind of rear its ugly head as I was going through those hormone problems. And then again, going through infertility, it started to get worse. And then now into adulthood, as we get older and estrogen drops, all those things, there's a massive correlation between that. So definitely do your research. But I just struggled with this for so long, for so many years. And then, of course, after having children, neurodivergency is very hereditary. Seeing it in my own kids and kind of almost watching like Groundhog Day, where I'm watching my daughter do a lot of the same things I did. And all five of us in this household are neurodivergent. And so now I have really come to learn a lot more about it, not just for myself, but for my children. And once I started my business, it really came to head Because if I was going to make this work, if I was going to run this business, be successful, be profitable, I had to learn how to take control of it, not just for my kids and my household, but for my business and my customers. So I want to dive in a little bit of how it showed up in my business really early on. So I had 1,000 ideas and zero follow through, zero way to prioritize which to work on. One day I was convinced I was launching a course. The next day I was starting a podcast. The next day after that, I was certain I needed to pivot into a new niche. And very early in my business, it wasn't that I wasn't passionate or I wasn't disciplined enough. It was actually the complete opposite. I was too passionate. My ideas were sprinting ahead of me while my execution could not keep up. And it was struggling because of burnout and energy. And I get all these ideas and I'm like, oh my gosh, another $1 million idea here at 2 a.m. And I would get so excited and try to execute it immediately. And that just ultimately leads to burnout. And because we struggle so much as ADHD entrepreneurs with time blindness, I was wrecking my productivity. I'd sit down to work for 20 minutes and somehow 3 hours later, written a single email and deep dove into about 1,000 conspiracy theories about whether or not, pigeons are actually government spies or something. I don't know. But if you are someone that struggles with ADHD, you totally understand. We get an idea and we're curious and we want to research it and we want to know everything about it. And that all or nothing energy drained me. Some days I'd hyper focus for 12 hours straight, didn't eat, didn't sleep, didn't drink, didn't blink, didn't pee. And other days I would just stare at my to-do list like it was ancient Latin or ancient Greek, unable to start anything. And if you've ever thought, why am I either a machine or literally a potato? You are not alone. Okay, so I really want to talk a lot today about the shift when I stopped fighting it in my business and started using it as my superpower. And I will go ahead and tell you that I released early on this week at the time of me recording this, so February-ish, I don't know, something like that. I just dropped a secret podcast series called the No BS ADHD CEO Secrets. And I will have all of that information in the show notes for you. But in that series, the 10 episode mini series where I really dive into the specific areas and how I really made these work in my business, like home life, the systems I use, how do I prioritize, the hyper focus, all of that. So if you are someone with ADHD listening to this, or maybe you're not sure, but you want to dive into that, definitely get it in the show notes. It's a secret podcast. You cannot find it by searching. You have to get the direct link. But today I want to kind of just set the tone for that because a lot of things will be shifting at Socially Awesome. And I'm really, really excited to share those with you at the end of the episode. So here's kind of when it finally clicked for me. After doing all of the things I was being taught to do and all the programs and the coaching and the mentorship and the courses, I just came to this realization, I don't need to fix my ADHD to be successful. I need to build a business that works with it. And what changed was I stopped doing what didn't work for me. And it really is that simple, but I'll give you some examples. So I let go of all the planners I'd never open. And I'm going to be honest with you, when you make a decision to go cold turkey or start something new, you are going to have pushback from your own brain. So I still find myself very rarely do I even go shopping in person, but recently went to Target and I took a scroll down the planner aisle and I was just looking around at these $40 planners and I was like, this one would get me so organized. And I had to step back and be like, nope, you're going to write in it 3 times and it's going to be garbage. Then you're going to rip out all the pages that your handwriting wasn't neat enough and start over. And then, going down that rabbit hole. And you are going to try to go back to your old ways. But once you're consistent with it long enough, and I know that's hard to do, but it's not that we don't like routine. It's that we don't like routines that don't fit us. Once you're consistent enough with a routine that does fit your brain, you will thrive on it. Okay. So when I stopped forcing myself to do what all the successful people do, I got to wake up an hour before the kids and write my affirmations 1,000 times and, have my miracle morning. And I embraced my brain and how it works. Everything kind of fell into place. Like sometimes my creative sessions are at 10 p.m. and they're fucking fire. And I leaned into that. I started to create systems that work on autopilot. And so that's kind of about a year and a half ago when I really started talking about automation and systems, because instead of trying to remember everything, because God knows I cannot, I started building in automation to my business, email sequences, client onboarding, DM sequences, all the things I used to forget or that I struggled to be consistent with. Now they happen automatically. And let me tell you, it has saved me approximately oh my God, I forgot to send that email panic attacks, because automation and systems have just opened up so much free time in my business and so much free space for me to be more creative. And I found that the ADHD hack that made selling really easy, because here's the wildest part. I figured out a way to sell that actually works with my brain. Because one of the things we struggle with as ADHD entrepreneurs so often is that rejection sensitivity. Even when I had one of those super low energy days, it also removed me a lot from the equation and that rejection sensitivity. And so instead of self-sabotaging, going, ooh, I don't know if I want to post this, people aren't going to like it, no one's going to resonate with this, I started seeing how the secret was that my brain's not broken. I just had to build a business that worked with it. And we as ADHD entrepreneurs, we're natural problem solvers and we are passionate. We're unstoppable. We have hyper focus that could literally build a bridge like in an hour. And the key is building a business that fits your brain, not trying to shove your brain into a system that wasn't built for you. So I want to give you some very specific examples, because that's exactly what I talk about inside my new secret podcast. And it's what I'm going to do inside my brand new program. So whether you've been here for one episode or you've been here for a while, I'm very tactical. I like to give a lot of examples. So I want to walk you through these individually so you can really see what I'm talking about when I say build systems that work with your brain. So first and foremost, the 5,000 ideas, but no follow through struggle. Okay, let's talk about that one. So one time I was so sure I was launching a new course. I bought the damn domain name. I made the logo. I told people about it. And then 3 weeks later, I was like, I just am not passionate about this. I really don't want to do it. I was on to the next thing because a new idea hit me like a lightning bolt. And suddenly the course didn't feel exciting anymore. And I did not want to sell people something I wasn't excited about. And while I do still feel like that was a very integratable move, and I'm glad that I did, if I had $1 for every time I started a project and abandoned it before I ever saw the light of day, I wouldn't even need to run this damn business because I'd be retired on a beach somewhere. So that is a real struggle. And I had to start finding ways to not only follow through and execute my ideas, but also keep me charged with dopamine during the process. And again, I dive so deep into this, into the secret podcast, so make sure you grab that. But another example, okay, time blindness. Where did the day go, right? The spiral. So I once sat down at my desk at 9 a.m. with a super simple goal. I am going to send out an email to my list today. And this was before I had, automations and sequences and things like that. Sounds super easy. Should have taken 3 minutes. 4 hours later. And I didn't even know how long it had been. Like I was so in the zone. But when I sat down at 9 a.m., I had that one thing on my mind. And I knew my husband had a meeting at work that day. Well, he gets home and he walks in the office and I'm like, what time is it? And he's like, 1. And I'm like, oh my God. I had rearranged my entire Google Drive because, organization is key. I had Googled how to start a hydroponic garden. Okay. Because obviously I can't remember to actually water plants. So I need the hydroponic one. I'd ordered a new planner that I never would use. I knew I would never use it. I'm pretty sure I still have it somewhere in my junk drawer, but yep, never used it. I'd gotten lost in the TikTok rabbit hole about a dog that skateboards. And what I didn't do, write the fucking email. So if you ever felt like you can sit down and do one thing and suddenly the day just vanishes, welcome to ADHD time distortion. You are home. The third, the I can't find my file, or I can't find that receipt, or I don't know where I put that. So let's just redo everything moment. All right. So one time I was working on a client project and I knew I had a template for it somewhere. And here's one thing. Most people, a lot of people don't even realize I am neurodivergent because I'm so organized, usually on the forefront. And I've got systems and automations in place that help me with that now. But before, I struggled with this so bad, but I was working myself to death to make sure that every single thing that went out was so organized to my clients, to, my students, because that fear of, oh my God, what if they find out? Right. And that's one of the reasons I really have started talking about it more, because now I'm comfortable enough to say, like, I am amazing at what I do. There is no one that does anything the way I do it. And so I've built that confidence by proving it time and time again. But before I did, it took me so much extra time for each task than it should have, because I would double, triple, quadruple check everything because this fear of what if people know. So anyway, back to the file, ADHD. Hello, welcome. Could I find it? No. Did I spend 45 minutes searching? Absolutely. Did I eventually give up and rebuild the whole damn thing from scratch? You bet. And then the next day, I found the original file sitting in a random folder in my Google Drive. A folder I had labeled miscellaneous stuff, where apparently my past self thought it would be obvious to put it there. But our ADHD brains mean, we have our own filing system. And unfortunately, we're not always like CC'd on that memo. The fourth, that all or nothing hyper-focus spiral. So I once had like a brilliant upon brilliant idea to redesign my entire website. And instead of pacing myself, I spent 13 straight hours in Canva, tweaking colors, testing fonts, rewriting copy, while completely ignoring my inbox. My children were hungry. I had people that were wanting to get in my programs. My husband was giving me a side eye from the kitchen. And by the time I came out of my office and came to, it was like 2 a.m. My eyes were burning. And guess what? I still was not done. That is the all or nothing ADHD brain for you. We're either sprinting at full speed or we can't even get off the starting line. It is like one or the other. Number 5, the automation saved me from myself moment. So before I had automation set up, I was constantly forgetting to send follow-ups or, even checking in with leads that literally wanted to pay me. And a client would say, like, send me the details. And I'd be like, yeah, right away. And then poof, out of my brain, like forever. And 3 weeks later, I'd find a message buried in my inbox like, hey, I still want to work with you. I'd be like, oh, shit. That was that thing I was supposed to do that I couldn't remember. So now my systems remind people for me. My email sequences are pre-written. My lead magnets deliver themselves. My ADHD brain is no longer the weakest link in my business. And that has been the absolute game changer. Number 6, the ADHD sales struggle and the breakthrough. So for the longest time, I thought selling online meant constantly being online, like showing up every day, posting every few hours, keeping up with all the trends. And let me just tell you, that burned me the fuck out, like super fast, because I'd go hard for a few days and then completely disappear. And when I come back, it felt like I had to start all over again. And then I realized that, my brain thrives with simplicity and automation. And I built a system where my content does the heavy lifting. My sales process runs in the background and I don't have to keep manually keeping up with everything every single day. And that's exactly what I'm teaching inside my new program. And I can't wait to show you how much easier your life can be. So if this episode hit home for you and you're tired of feeling like business strategies weren't built for your ADHD brain, I want you in this program. I'm going to show you how to sell in a way that works with your energy, how to automate the things that drain you, and how to finally feel in control of your business instead of constantly playing catch up. So as we kind of wrap up this episode, I want to give you 2 action items. Actually, I'm going to change that. I want to give you 3 action items. First and foremost, if you got any value out of this episode at all, I would love for you to subscribe, leave a review, take a screenshot of you listening to this, throw it in your stories, tag me, however you want to celebrate listening to this, because I want to celebrate you too. So tag me on IG. I would love to share it in front of my audience and really celebrate the fact that you were plugging in to learn for your business. Okay. The second thing I want you to do, make sure if any of this resonated with you today, that you go to the show notes and you get the link to the Secret Podcast, because ultimately I break this down with very specific examples, very specific steps on how you can take control the same way I did and how I built my multi-6-figure business with my ADHD and not against it. So that series, you can binge it a day. They're 10-minute-ish episodes. I mean, game changer for anyone out there that is struggling with ADHD. And here's the last action item for you, and the biggest one probably. I am opening up the waitlist now. And trust me, you want to be on it, because my best ADHD-friendly strategies are going inside my program. I will be teaching you how to build an effortless sales system, how to automate your content so it works even when you forget, and how to finally feel in control of your business, because your ADHD is not your weakness. It is your secret weapon. You just need the right strategy, and I cannot wait to help you build it. All right. Let's be real, running a business with ADHD is not a straight line. It is a series of chaotic, brilliant, overwhelming, and genius moments all rolled into one. But here's what you need to hear. Your ADHD is not the thing holding you back. It is a secret weapon. You just need a business that's built for it. I spent years fighting my brain, trying to squeeze myself into strategies that didn't fit. But the second I stopped forcing it and started designing my business around how my brain actually works, everything changed. More sales, more ease, way less burnout. That's exactly why I'm helping you inside my brand new program. I'm pulling back the curtain and showing you the systems, the automations, and the ADHD-friendly sales strategies that will help you stop playing catch up and finally feel in control of your business. So if you're tired of starting and stopping, if you ever felt like traditional business advice wasn't made for you, this is your sign. I want you in the program. The waitlist is open now. Go to the show notes or DM me ADHD waitlist, and I'll send you the details. Doors are opening soon, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. Your ADHD isn't the problem. You need a business that works with it, and I'm going to show you how. Stay awesome. I'll see you inside. And until next time, make it simple, make it social, and make it awesome.